All right, it is the final edition of the 2025 Cincinnati Reds, Chatterbox Reds, and unfortunately, that means the Reds were incapable of getting this to a Game 3, Nick. 7-2 losers. Well, I got to be honest, there's probably maybe a small portion of the fan base that it's probably going to wake up and listen to this podcast right now and not really know the opportunities that the Reds had at the end of the game because you thought it was dead and done. Nick, they had chances today. They had chances, and they just weren't capable of capitalizing on them, and some of that's maybe symbolic of the way that the whole entire year has gone. Some of it's symbolic from the standpoint that the Dodgers are just the better team, and maybe we just got to come to grips with that as well. Truth probably lies somewhere in the middle, but it's been a season, Nick. It's I'm sure we'll get to the sentimental part of all of it probably at the very end of the show, but it's been a pleasure. It's been a journey, and it's been one kind of crazy ride that has been the 2025 Reds, and it ended with a postseason appearance.
Yeah, a postseason appearance that I didn't ever think was coming most of the year. So in that regards, it was special to have postseason games, probably more special for me and you, Trace, just because of how incredible the support has been over the last 5 shows. The last 5 shows have been the most viewed shows we've ever done. So I guess for maybe from selfish reasons, it was more special for us than maybe other folks who kind of felt the same roller coaster that we did this year. And yeah, the Dodgers were the better team, and the Dodgers should have won, and the Dodgers would have won if probably would have won if everything was managed and done everything perfect. But yeah, they missed some opportunities to come through in big spots in this game, but I also think they missed on opportunities to squash Dodgers rallies by not using their best arm. So there's a lot of missed opportunities in this game, but the Dodgers are the better team. They do have a shaky bullpen, though. I'll be fascinated to kind of see, as a baseball fan, if they're able to get past Philly or not.
Just to add insult into injury, currently, right when the Dodgers-Reds go final, they send it to Scott Van Pelt, and who do they have on to talk about it?
I see.
They have Hunter Pence to talk about the game. Like, I mean, just kick us while we're down. Why don't you? So yeah, I if I wasn't trying to be somewhat of a professional here, I would have seen Hunter Pence on my screen right now to my right, and I would have just shut the stream down, and we could just go home, and we'll all live happily ever after, and we'll be back in 2026. But that's not what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a show here, and I guess, you know, if you didn't get a chance to watch the live stream and you're just listening to the podcast, there's just moments in this game that kind of boiled over for me. The frustration that lied with the fact that you just feel like there's a lot of players in this team that didn't get rightful opportunities. And then on top of that, maybe you're disappointed that some of the younger guys, when they did get an opportunity to have a huge moment, they didn't capitalize on it and they didn't step up and get the big hit. Sal Stewart, unfortunately, we'll do the Bosco recap here in a minute and talk about all these different chances, but he had a great game offensively, but he just didn't capitalize in the one time where you could have maybe made a huge difference. But that's how baseball goes. And I don't know if you have it in front of you, Nick. I'm not trying to say that the Reds had a bunch of bad luck tonight, but it did feel like the Dodgers had a lot of fortunate hits. There was a lot of slow rollers, Baltimore, chops, balls down the line, flared base hits. It just, when it rained, it poured, and it was pouring on the Cincinnati Reds.
They had a lot of hard hit balls, but they also had the bloops too. So it's look, when you're playing the Dodgers, you need everything to go perfect, and the Reds didn't have a very much go perfect.
Yeah, that's for sure. Craig, typically, as many of you probably were questioning and or wondering who in the world was doing these box score recaps, I think he's having some issues with his internet as we speak here. So
we got some supers if you want to get through those.
we can do some super chats and see if we can buy him some time. Otherwise, I guess ultimately we'll find a way to try to buy Craig some time. Let's do some super chats here real quick before we jump into the box score recap. I know that
I got it up if you want me to do it. I know where we're at.
It's Vic. Where are we starting at with?
Carlton.
All right, let's get to Carlton Van Hoy. Abbott didn't pitch in the playoffs. Make it make sense. I think that's just happen chance. That's just the product of the circumstance. Unfortunately, Andrew Abbott wasn't available on his regular rest to throw in the time frame that we would have liked him to throw in. You had to win this series after you lose game 1, Nick. You had to obviously get yourself to a spot to win game 3. And if you don't win game 3, you lose the series anyway. So I get it. I guess my point is, I understand the idea that it's frustrating that you don't have Andrew Abbott throw in the series at all, but I don't know, Nick. It just felt like that. I don't want to say it didn't matter because I don't want it to sound like I'm not valuing Andrew Abbott. I guess I'm more or less saying that if the Reds were to have won game 1, they would have had Andrew Abbott available for the final game to possibly win the series. If you lose game 1, well, you were going to have to win game 3 anyways to win the series. So it's kind of like, I get it, but I don't get it. Hopefully, if I'm illustrating this appropriately, I hope I am.
He would have been on 3 days rest. He's never pitched on 3 days rest in his career. He looked tired at times down the stretch. You would not have got the best version of Andrew Abbott.
And you still would have had to win the next day, Nick.
Yeah,
you still would have had to win the day that he was scheduled to pitch on regular days rest. So,
and we'll talk about it, but I thought Littell pitched pretty well. I mean, he had a couple tough breaks. Like, it's hard to imagine that Andrew Abbott would have pitched much better than that, especially like the combo of Littell and Ladola, which got you through 5 innings. It's hard to imagine that you really would have expected that much better performance than 5 innings, 3 runs, and the 3 runs are tough 3 runs too. So yeah, I get why it doesn't feel right to do it, but I don't think it A, would have made a difference, and B, we would have been putting Andrew Abbott in a good spot.
Yeah, we'll talk about something I think is a bigger question mark, and hopefully we get some answers here relatively soon because it's going to be the biggest question that I have going into this game and what the hell happened. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Let's see here. College 40 says, you guys were the best part of the summer. Thank you. That's very nice of you to say. Fire Tito, free Benson. Please, someone else buy the team. Go Reds. I get the frustration, guys. I really do. I understand it. Thank you for the kind words. There's a lot of people that people want to fire. There's a lot of people that want to say that this is wrong, that's wrong. At the end of the day, I get it. We're fans, but there's some things that are going to happen here soon that are just so much bigger than just this ownership group from a Major League Baseball perspective. That's going to make a huge impact on, I think, a lot of people's fandoms, and we'll probably have a lot of time to talk about that in 2027. So I'm going to save it for them, but keep your head up. That's what I'd say. Clint Westerfield says, really hope Tito is better next year or not here. We'll see. We will see, Clint. Ultimately, Justin Edgel says, what an excellent season. I don't think Tito helped as much as I thought he would. Thanks to Trace, Nick. It's been a joy watching all year. See you next year, fellas. Much love. Thank you, Justin. Appreciate that. You've been a loyal listener and watcher of the program. So, and you're a nut cutter and just flat out awesome supporter of us. So thank you, Justin. Victor says, thanks for a wonderful season, guys. Even if the Reds had won 89 games, same result. Enjoy your time off, Nick. Can't wait until you come back when the red hot stove season begins. Pray for a veteran bat with pop. That's right. We need some help with some guys that we can just throw in the lineup and we know what we're getting. That would be really, really wonderful. We'll see. 100 bomb from Jonathan Y1. Thanks for all the great content. It's been a wild ride. Thanks for all the insights, trying to make sense of it all. You guys and your hard work are appreciated. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you for that big super chat. Honestly, thank you to everybody that super chatted, whether it's $4, $100, $20, $10. It's very humbling, to be honest with you. Try not to get emotional on this show at the end of the year, every single year, but it's just a lot of work. Nick puts just an insane amount of work into this show. And to see it grow from what it once was is pretty cool, for lack of a better term. Chief C, I should say, says, great stream, fellas. Is it too much to ask you guys to support your NL Central neighbors, the Chicago Cubs? Go Cubs, go. That's nice of you to super chat. Appreciate that. I like Reed. I like Reed a lot. I don't want the Cubs to win the World Series because I don't want to hear Reed, but I do like Reed. So if the Cubs win in a weird way, in the back of my heart, I'm like, at least Reed's happy. But I don't want them to win the World Series.
I don't know. I'm kind of weird on that. Like, I feel like a SEC type of affiliation with the Brewers and Cubs. Like, it's kind of like we were all together, like, crapped on all offseason how the NL Central was the worst division in baseball.
It's true.
And lo and behold, the Brewers have the best record. The Cubs had the best wild card, and the Reds snuck into the playoffs with the last seat. So you know what? Like, I don't want, like, the Brewers are. I really like the Brewers win the World Series. I won't be upset at all about that. The Cubs are a little bit different, but I also kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, right. I get it. You're like they're kind of a part of, like, the same fraternity, I guess, or something along those lines. At the end of the day, do I want them to win? No, but at the same time, whatever. I actually might root for the Brewers because it's like I put it this way. If you're that successful, as a small market and you still can't figure out a way to beat these big dogs in the postseason because they're just fine, they find a way to either out scout you or they're just better than you and they just don't care about the regular season nearly as much as us. I mean, at some point it becomes pretty damn disheartening. And Kilo the Great says Tito has extreme biases that costed this team all year. Hayes and McLean has to play despite their struggles. But if Benson or Marte doesn't hit for the cycle every night, they're sitting objectively bad. Obviously, it's not that crazy. But, yeah, I mean, there's no doubt there's been times where it seems like one guy's get infinite amount of opportunities and others don't. I mean, even to the point where, I don't know, just so many things. I don't want to be negative on a show like this, but there's just so many things. Like, even like the comment that he made the other day, like, yeah, I mean, Sear's been hurt this year, but I think he's a better hitter when he's hurt. Ha ha ha. There, is that funny? Is that funny, guys? It's just like, shut up. Like, with all due respect. I mean, you let the guy go out there and get absolutely drowned for the first month and a half at first base. He was pitiful. He was absolutely pitiful because he had a bum shoulder, but you wanted to rush him after he had 7 at-bats in Arizona for spring training, and you stuck him on the opening day roster at first base, a position he hasn't played. And we just acted like it was fine and it was great. It was a perfect decision. And it's just so stupid. Anyway, Noah Downing said, the last one of the year, give it up for 32 years. Yeah. Well, maybe next year, Noah. Who knows? Clint Westerfield says, I love the Reds. Why do they seem to hate me? Yeah, well, they don't totally hate you. They just like to keep you around. It'd be one thing if they were the Rockies. That would be one thing, right? But they're good enough to make you feel like you damn near feel like there's a chance, but they're not quite good enough to get you to the exhilarating feeling we're all waiting for. Dustin Pruitt says, taking Benson out in the middle of an AB is one of the most appalling things I've ever witnessed. It's actually something we defended a little bit because you're trying to find somebody that has success that can maybe hit a home run in that spot. Andujar is absolutely smash lefties, one of the best left-handed hitters in all of Major League Baseball, not just for the Reds, but all of Major League Baseball. It does suck that he somehow came in with 2 strikes. And it does, what sucks more is it sucks that we find ourselves in a position where we're always banking on the idea of having to hit a home run late in the game to even get ourselves back in the game, Will Benson probably doesn't get pinch hit for if it's a relatively close game and you want to keep him in, but it's here nor there. Sean Krucka says, Jeff Brantley after the game, I think there are going to be some changes, some very surprising changes. Thoughts?
I think there's going to be some players traded this offseason that will probably, may not be shocking, but they'll be like wow moves that you move because we've talked about it all year. There's like too many average players on one roster where it just doesn't like fit. Like it's not like, and that's what's made it hard this year. Because it's like you kind of have to be sort of critical of like a guy like Gavin Lux who didn't do anything wrong. He was a fine player, but like he's not good enough to be a DH. He needs to either be the everyday second baseman. But Matt McLean stayed healthy all year, so you didn't need to use him at second base. which I know a lot of people are crapping on that idea,
Yeah, I
but
get it.
I hope you understand my point with this. So yeah, I think there's going to be some players traded that I don't think like Ellie De La Cruz is getting traded. But if I'm just throwing names out there, if a guy like TJ Friedel got traded this offseason, it would not shock me. If Gavin Lux got traded this offseason, it wouldn't shock me. If Spencer Steer got traded this offseason, it wouldn't shock me, because there's a number of these guys that are like good, but not getting you over the hump.
Yeah, I completely agree. We'll see. I'll be shocked when I'll be shocked. I just feel like it's just it's not fair. I'm not trying to say it's not fair to us, but like it's just not fair right when the season's over and it's dead to sit here and try to get into full off season talk. I'm not in that I'm just not in that mindset. I'm not in that space. I'm not saying that we can't bring it up. If you super chat, we'll do our best to discuss it, but like I'm just not there yet. Like, if you're going to ask me what needs to happen with this team right now, I'm going to give you a completely irrational take. I'm going to tell you that we have a ton of players that aren't good enough, and I'm going to probably make it sound like we have maybe 2 guys that I'm willing to keep around or be excited about. And outside of that, we better go find some help, which is completely unrealistic. So I just got to reset.
Jump in our Discord on Monday. I'll be fully invested in the offseason by then. But yeah, I need a couple days to just kind of sleep.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, thankfully we got our main man Craig back in the booth here. So we're gonna go to the box score recap presented by Craig Sandlin tonight. And then you know what? Probably towards the end of this thing, Craig's gonna come on and have some fun with us, and we'll all sing Kumbaya together and make it feel like we actually didn't lose tonight. So, Craig, I know you're there. I know you were away, but now you're back. Go ahead and take it away. It's the box score recap tonight, presented by yourself, my friend.
For the last time in 2025, and an October version of the box score recap, this one is presented by Nicholas P. Kirby. The Reds look to take advantage of the momentum they gained at the end of Game 1, take on the Dodgers in Game 2 on Wednesday night. Zach Littell started on the mound for the Reds as the Dodgers turned to ace Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Gavin Lux reached in the top of the first on a fielder's choice. Then Austin Haze sent a shallow fly down the right field line that hit off Teoscar Hernandez's glove, and Austin Haze reached safely. Sal Stewart then took a 2-strike splitter to the right side and threw the infield for a 2-run single. The Reds had their first playoff lead since October 9th, 2012 at 2-0. The Dodgers cut into the lead in the bottom of the third when Ben Rortvedt doubled to lead off the inning, then scored on a Mookie Betts single. In the bottom of the fourth, Max Muncy singled before Kike Hernandez continued his postseason tear with a double to center, scoring Muncy. Miguel Rojas then singled to score Hernandez and give the Dodgers a 3-2 lead. Terry Francona turned to Nick Lodolo, who got out of the inning without further damage. Final line for Littell: 3 1/3 innings pitched, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, no walks, 2 strikeouts. Yamamoto on the other side retired 13 straight Reds before they got 3 straight singles from Friedel, Steer, and Lux to start the top of the 6th, but a fielder's choice from Austin Haze and strikeouts by Sal Stewart and Ellie De La Cruz resulted in the Reds not scoring in the inning. Nick Lodolo was done after just 1 2/3 innings pitched and 14 total pitches, allowing just 1 hit. Tito turned to Nick Martinez, who allowed a single to Kike Hernandez before a throwing error by Sal Stewart allowed Ben Rortvedt to reach base. Ohtani then hit an RBI single. Mookie Betts doubled. Freddie Freeman was intentionally walked, and then Teoscar Hernandez hit a double, scoring 2 and making it 7 Dodgers before the Reds knew what hit them. That was it for Martinez as Tito turned to Tony Santillan with 1 out and runners on second and third. They intentionally walked Max Muncy to load the bases before Santillan even threw a pitch. Andy Pages threw out to shallow right, and then Kike Hernandez popped up in the infield and Santillan escaped the inning without further damage. Santillan returned to the mound for the 7th inning. Rojas hit an infield single and advanced to second on a sacrifice bunt. The Reds then walked Ohtani intentionally before Mookie Betts hit his third double of the night, making it 8-2 Dodgers, and Santillan yielded to Chase Burns with one out and runners on second and third. Freeman grounded out to Matt McLain, and Ellie made a phenomenal play behind the mound to erase Teoscar Hernandez and end the inning without damage. Gavin Lux led off the eighth with a single to left, but the ball was missed by Kike Hernandez, allowing Lux to advance to second. Austin Haze then walked. Sal Stewart singled to right, scoring Lux. Ellie then walked to load the bases with no outs yet again. Tyler Stevenson sent the first pitch he saw to left field for a sacrifice fly, making it 8-4. Dave Roberts then made a surprising move, making a pitching change with a 1-2 count to Will Benson. Francona countered with Miguel Andujar to face the lefty Alex Vesia with 2 strikes on him. Andujar proceeded to swing at the first pitch, a fastball a foot above the strike zone to strike out. McLain then walked to load the bases and bring the tying run to the plate, but TJ Friedel struck out looking to end the threat with the score stuck at 8-4. Chase Burns retired the Dodgers in order in the bottom of the eighth, but Roki Sasaki set the Reds down in order in the ninth. The Reds season comes to an end as they fall to the Dodgers 8-4 and 0-2 in the wild card series.
All right. Unfortunately, the deep drive of the day is going to be a single. Would have been cool to have a deep drive of the day actually be a home run to end the season, but it's not going to be. Sal Stewart would single through the right side. Gavin Lux would ultimately score. That would jump the win probability for your Cincinnati Reds up to a whopping 5%. As we all know, it would wind up being 0%. But as always, DSC is a leader in renewable commodities for biofuel production, specializing in used cooking oil collection, aggregation, and sales. Visit www.deepsouthcommodities.com for more information. Thank you to John and his team. That's another thing really to get into to a certain extent here is just the amount of people that support the show. John and DSC and is a huge part of allowing us to do what we do. So I just want to say thank you to John and Deep South Commodities for their support and what we do. So we also got the early Black Friday 50% off site-wide. I got to tell you, I got a nice package upstairs. I still got a couple more things to get to through that Omaha Steaks package, but I got some sirloins already knocked out. Hot dogs already knocked out. The only thing left are there was 4 apple desserts, Nick. I've eaten 2 and I still got 2 waiting, and then tonight just might be the night. So, Nick, I know you like some Omaha Steaks.
I got a nice package upstairs.
Come on. Keep it together, man. I mean, what are we doing? You wonder why you got 10 kids. I bring up 2 things on this stream that might actually bring up something that, could be a little bit of an innuendo. And there you go. You run with it.
Go to omahasteaks.com and get 50. Go to omahasteaks.com and get 50% off site-wide, plus an extra 20% off select favorites and more limited time deals during their early Black Friday sale.
Early what?
Use promo code Chatterbox at checkout for an extra $35 off. Minimum purchase may apply. See site for details.
Oh, bro. I bet that's what the marketing folks at Omaha Steaks was looking for. Shout out to us at Chatterbox Reds. Hopefully they'll be back better than ever tomorrow. Or not tomorrow, but next year. We'll see. We'll find out. If you don't mind, please, if there ever was a time, go get you some Omaha Steaks. Use the code Chatterbox, and who knows, maybe they'll come back. What a season. What a season, what a year, what a show. All right, let's get into it. Reds, they load the bases twice, Nick, incapable of getting, I guess, what you would call the crooked number hit that would allow this team to kind of maybe get themselves either break the game open or not break it open, let's be clear, give themselves an advantage and or get themselves back into a game. That just didn't happen, Nick.
Yeah, the first time up, Austin Haze came up with the bases loaded, your cleanup hitter. Tito riding with the guy that's a veteran that has not hit right-handed pitching great throughout his career, has been a significantly lesser hitter against right-handed pitching than Noelvi Marte, the StatCast numbers would say, than Will Benson. And Hayes hit a weak ground ball that ended up getting it out at the plate and just kind of put a lot more pressure on Sal Stewart, who had a great night tonight. Had 2 hits in an incredible environment for a guy that was the youngest player ever to start a postseason game for your Cincinnati Reds. But yeah, I mean, that at bat by Austin Hayes, not the only at bat that cost the game, but just really set that whole inning up for things not to go well. And yeah, I mean, they had their chances in this game, that to blow it open, and then it just felt like after that point right there, it just snowballed, and there was nothing that could put an end to it.
Yeah, it was, as you said, kind of a domino effect. I think that ultimately it wasn't a horrific swing that I felt like Austin Hayes put on it, but it wasn't obviously the swing that you'd like to have. He put the ball in play. I'll give him credit for that. Mookie Betts made a play to decide to throw the ball home and take the lead runner out there. He could have turned a double play relatively easily. I thought it was a mistake to throw the ball home. Turns out it wasn't, because we stranded the runners there. Sal Stewart kind of got free swinging a little bit, unfortunately expanded the zone, and so did Ellie. I think 2 inexperienced hitters in a huge spot in the postseason showed their inexperience, and they kind of allowed maybe the circumstance to kind of get in the way of the process, and unfortunately they didn't produce and give the Reds an opportunity to build on the momentum that they had by getting the bases loaded with nobody out. And it kind of goes back to the point we've made all year, Nick, where it's like, it's just really hard against good teams, and especially high-pressure situations, to kind of continue to find ways to get on base. Getting 6-7 guys on base before you make 3 outs just seems unrealistic, and that's ultimately what happened tonight. Sal Stewart had a nice night. Just the one time where you kind of needed him to get the big hit, he didn't get the big hit. He struck out, and then obviously Ellie struck out right behind him. So, yeah, a tough spot, and then ultimately they had another opportunity late in the game to kind of bring the tying run back. They brought the tying run to the plate in a shocking manner, I think, in the 8th inning, and it just, once again, you just were incapable of producing. And to be fair, though, honestly, Nick, if you'd have told us before this series started that this Reds team was going to score 5 runs game 1, 4 runs game 2, you're going to get a lot of people sign up for that. So I'm not going to sit here and make it out like they were absolutely horrible, because I don't think that they were. They just, unfortunately, were playing a team that was putting a lot of runs on the board, put a lot of pressure on this offense, and they missed their opportunities, I guess, if you want to call it that, tonight.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not trying to jump topics, but you know, it just kind of goes right into the bullpen as well. And you know, you had an opportunity to keep the game close. It was a 3-2 game. Francona decides to bring in Nick Martinez, which was a perfectly fine spot. It was Kiki Hernandez, Miguel Rojas, and their backup catcher due up. Perfect spot for him. But a couple of guys get on base, one of them via an error by Sal Stewart. And then Shohei Ohtani comes up with runners on, I believe, the corners with 1 out.
Yep.
And Shohei Ohtani is the best player on earth, but he does have some swing and miss. And Nick Martinez, a guy that I like, a guy that I think was valuable for this team, not $21 million valuable, but was valuable in some capacity for this team. That's not the spot to use him, is a reliever when you need to get a strikeout to kind of keep your season alive. You had a guy like Chase Burns. You had a guy like Tony Santillan that could have come in, and maybe the same result happens, but at least you would have gone down with a guy that has the capability of striking out Shohei Ohtani. And Francona decided just to let Martinez go out there, and he lets Martinez face Ohtani, gives up a single, hit 102 off the bat, lets him face Betts, gives up a double, hit 100 off the bat, intentionally walks Nick Martinez, and then lets him face Teoscar Hernandez and gives up a double at 104 off the bat. And the game felt like that point it was over, 7-2. And And I'm sure some people are like, well, it doesn't matter. Well, then you watch the Dodgers bullpen and you're like, man, if you could have held them to 1 run, maybe even 2 runs in that inning, this game has a chance of being completely different.
Yeah, you'd like to see what the Dodgers bullpen was capable of doing when it's a 1-run game, let alone when they were completely, falling apart when they had a sizable lead. So I think this leads right into maybe the biggest question of the night, in my opinion, which is what happened with Nick Lodolo. The plan was Zach Littell was going to go out there and kind of be an opener. Some suggested that maybe he was only going to throw 1 inning. You had mentioned maybe you try to get him through the first 6-7 hitters. He did a great job. And you turn the ball over to Lodolo, and you felt like, okay, this is the guy that's going to kind of carry it for the rest of the game and then try to get you to a spot, in my opinion, where you turn the ball over to the guys that you trust the most, and Santillan and Pagan, and you can maybe even throw in, like, I know Ashcraft threw yesterday, but, regardless, you get my point. And it just didn't happen. I don't know if he got hurt. I'm going to need to know what exactly happened, but he didn't look like he was hurt, and he certainly looked like he was capable of throwing the ball well and getting some outs, and then just inexplicably he's out of the game. So I got to tell you, Nick, it's going to be a really, really tough question going into the offseason if Lodolo did get hurt or had some flare-up on his blister or had a flare-up with his groin. I know that the offseason talk will be the offseason talk, but it just kind of continues to have this huge, huge spiraling question mark over Lodolo's head. Or maybe Tito decided that he thought that it was a better move to just take him out, which if that's the case, Nick, I give up.
Yeah, that would have been pretty crazy in my opinion, because you should have let him go at least through that Ohtani, and then it gets to Freeman and Muncy one more time. My guess, looking back on it now that you have some time and kind of looking through how the game was, is they felt like Lodolo had 2 innings max. And so they wanted to have him just go through that as he came in. Actually, their 9-hole hitter is a lefty right ahead of Ohtani, their first. I think they thought we could get him through 1 time, and that was it. That has to be it. If it's not it, then yes, I have no idea what the logic was, because Nick Lodolo was an incredible pitcher this year. And in terms of Nick Lodolo, even if he ended the year not on a perfect bill of health, I'm still going to chalk this year up health-wise as a smashing success for Nick Lodolo, even though it might not feel like it ended great. Throwing 156 innings after not throwing more than 115, pitching in 30 games counting this postseason after not pitching in more than 21. I mean, that's a big step for Nick Lodolo. And it doesn't seem like if there was an injury, obviously it wasn't that severe because he pitched today. So yes, I get like anytime there's any issue with Lodolo, it's going to be magnified because it's been a constant concern with them. But I think at the end of the year, I feel drastically more confident in Nick Lodolo's health than I did at the year before. Now, you're never going to feel incredibly confident about any pitcher, but I feel a lot more confident than I did 4 months ago.
Yeah, it'd be interesting what other teams value Nick Lodolo at as well. I know that ultimately last offseason, we don't try to spread rumors or anything of that nature, but I think it's pretty safe to say that they were definitely in the market for trying to get rid of, or not get rid of, I don't want to make it sound like that, but they were interested in what kind of deals that possibly would be at their disposal with Nick Lodolo. The question is now what ultimately will happen this offseason with him. But unfortunately tonight, just, I guess maybe I will also, let me say this. My doing the live streams and watching the games, it's a little more difficult to process as much as I normally would when I'm watching these games by myself. So I don't want to make it sound like I'm completely clueless on this show. I just want to openly say that before I say what I'm going to say. I just felt like maybe you just ride Lodolo because the season's over if you don't win, and he looked good, and he felt like a guy that just came off of a career game. I get that he threw in Milwaukee. I understand that. But at the end of the day, I just would have liked to have at least seen him get in trouble. Maybe that's not the right way to go about it, but if you're going to tell me that our next best options were to just let Nick Martinez continue to let guys get on base and not take him out and be desperate, then why are we being so desperate with Lodolo? But That's here nor there. It's water under the bridge. And to be frank, I don't know if it mattered. I'm not trying to be overly critical here. The Dodgers are better. They beat us 8-4. It's not like we lost another one-run game, Nick.
It mattered in terms of giving yourself a chance in this game to steal a game, for sure. I mean, Nick Lodolo faced 5 batters, retired all of them on 14 pitches, only gave up 1 hard hit ball, and that 1 hard hit ball was a whopping 0.8 above the threshold for a hard hit ball, and that was to Shohei Ohtani, a 95.8 mile per hour flyout. Most of the contact he got was incredibly weak contact, and actually the only hit he allowed was hit at whopping 30 miles per hour off the Dodgers backup catcher that I don't know how to say his name, and I'm not going to try to. So yeah, I mean, Lodolo was incredibly effective for a guy that if he is hurt, and that's why you didn't pitch him as deep as you did. So yeah, to your point, what he did today didn't make you think, well, why couldn't he have tried with your season on the line to go another inning? That's very fair.
I also say that there's a chance that it has something to do with what maybe there's this belief system in the offseason of what they want to do. And I don't want to be overly speculative on this show or anything like that, but I just want to openly say that I'm not putting it past it that there was a conversation had about the way that they're going to manage Nick Lodolo in a realistic chance of them making any sizable difference. They didn't want to take their chances on him having some major catastrophic situation happen right at the tail end of the year, go into that offseason with no leverage at all to use, and there you go. So I know that sounds like tinfoil hat conspiracy theory guy, but it just wouldn't shock me. That's because it just didn't. Put it this way, for a team that had to win to stay alive, it didn't feel like if you had someone that looked that good, you were managing like it was Game 7 of the World Series, per se. It felt like you were managing it a little differently, but that's here nor there. So, yeah, I don't know. I obviously don't know if there's a back half here, Nick, but ultimately, I guess at this point that the Dodgers are a better team and they deserve to win, and I'm happy to admit that, not trying to hide behind it or anything like that, but I guess to put a little bit of a bow around just the overall thought process of 2025, I don't think it was a great season. I certainly don't think it was a poor or bad or anything like that. I just think that it was an average season that had some highs and some lows, and now moving forward, I guess it'll be interesting to see what the kind of the makeup and the decision making will be going forward on what they want to do, because on one hand, I thought pitching and defense mattered a lot, but then on the other, it felt like we are now moving guys' positions to try to get their bat up here. Guy like Sal Stewart, who, I don't know if he was going to be, like you said, a third baseman or not, but they clearly made that decision when they went and got Brian Hayes that he's not going to be a third baseman. What happens with, some of the other prospects like CES and these are all decisions that certainly can get made in the offseason, and we'll wait to find out. But yeah, it's just, for lack of a better term, to my thought process right now, it was a roller coaster, and it was frustrating. And it was frustrating because I thought they were good enough to be better than they were, but I also understand that maybe I'm just being a little unrealistic about how good this roster was, because I'll openly admit that I don't think they have that many great players from a lineup perspective, hitters wise. So, I can't have it both ways.
Yeah, it was frustrating, like in like June, that you looked up and this team wasn't better than what they were. But I think at that point, like, I'd kind of accepted this is not our year, and I had kind of moved on. Well, then they did kind of rally and somehow found their way into the playoffs, and I think that's a good thing. Like, I think there's going to be some takes about how it doesn't matter. They just got lucky to get in the playoffs because of the Mets, and it doesn't matter at all. I don't agree with that at all. I don't think that it's something that you should say, oh, well, they made the playoffs, they don't need to make serious, I don't want to say changes, but fixes to improve their team. Yeah, they absolutely need to have a aggressive offseason and make smart decisions to improve their roster. But look, I think that it's good experience for any of these guys to get a couple games in the playoffs, to kind of see what that's like, to get a little bit of a taste of it. I think it's great to see a guy like Chase Burns look really good at the end of a playoff game. Yes, it was, in some ways out of hand, but good to see him, and he finished the year. And it's good to see guys like Ellie. Good to see Sal Stewart. I mean, young as he is, to get to play in some playoff games, and kind of in some ways you get to see a little bit of what Sal Stewart's made of when he plays in a game like today. Yes, he had the one at bat I was going to talk about, but man, he had two other really good at bats and had two big hits in this game. So yeah, I think that's all good stuff for this team going forward, but it doesn't mean that there's not serious questions that need answered. Some even, I would say, philosophies that need altered, and overall a roster that needs to fit better. And I will say, I think that the Reds got to the end of this year, and I hope that now the puzzle is a little clearer on what works and what doesn't. It's not crystal clear, but I hope that you say, okay, well, we're going to go with the more defensive aligned team. But as I was saying during the show, it's fine if we're gonna go all in on defense for third base, shortstop, second base, and center field. But we have got to have our left fielder, our right fielder, our first baseman, and our DH be above average hitters. We have got to have those players carry the load offensively. And Sal Stewart could be an option there to be a guy that could carry. Noelvi Marte could be a guy that could carry right field. And I'll even say it just one more time to make the haters mad. Will Benson could be at least a 60% of that as a platoon option. But yeah, you have to have those spots carry the weight if you're going to go with the more defensive-minded team.
Yeah, we'll see what they ultimately end up doing. As far as the term "great season," I just don't think I can give it that grade. Maybe it's just too close, and I don't know. It's just hard for me to say it was a great season. I know they made the postseason for the first time in a long time. I get the idea that they ran into the Dodgers, so how can you possibly judge the entire season off of just 2 games against the Dodgers? That's probably a little unfair, and it took them to get into the postseason until 162. But just my brain won't allow me to get past the idea that, realistically speaking, in the final game of the year, they went out, they put a lineup that had Trevino, Hayes, McLean in the last 3 slots of the lineup, and they didn't feel like they managed that game with any sense of urgency. And fortunately for the Cincinnati Reds, the Miami Marlins won a baseball game that allowed them to get in the postseason, but we didn't control that. Our organization had nothing to do with that, and the Mets completely collapsed. And maybe you're going to say that that's overly pessimistic and that I'm always, looking at the negative side of things. I'm just openly saying that we didn't control any of that. And thankfully, they fell apart, and it allowed us to get to the postseason. But I think we're a far cry away from, being a competitive team that's capable of actually executing and making a sizable difference in the postseason. You somewhat saw it in this postseason attempt, but I'd even say we got to find a way to compete with the Cubs. We got to find a way to compete with the Brewers. I know the Brewers probably played a little bit over their head this year. That's fine, but you can't finish 16, 17 games behind a divisional opponent that spends less money than you, Nick. That can't happen, and we've got to find a way to try to scratch and claw and get ourselves a little bit closer to that. I'm not saying they got to make it all up in 1 year, but we've got to start to try to find ways to be a little more competitive in this division, and hopefully that starts next year. But I'm not going to say it's a great season just because you get in the postseason and then you get your brakes beat off of you. So that's just kind of, hopefully people understand that. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just being completely blunt and honest about how I feel, and hopefully they've spent a little bit of money in the offseason and they hit, because Jamier Candelarios of the world, the Nick Martinez of the world, you do spend money, Nick, but you just can't miss. And I'm not trying to say it's all Nick Kral's fault, but he's going to have to find a way to not miss that bad if he decides to go out into the free agent market again and make a splash.
It's only a great season if this is a stepping stone towards next year being a really great season. That's the only way that I can look back on this. But you see teams like this that get into the playoffs as kind of that last team, and it was the first step towards them being great. And you also see teams that get in here and that's it. The Miami Marlins come to mind, a team that snuck into the playoffs, and the next year they were one of the worst teams in baseball. I don't think the Reds have that going for them. I think they still have a obviously a competitive roster. For me, I don't think the Reds are maybe as far off as I think a lot of people are going to think. I think that because the offense was so brutal to watch a lot of this year, it makes the team not feel as good as it was. This team has incredible pitching, and they're going to win ugly. Even if they improve on the offense, they're still going to probably win kind of ugly, and that wins. It's not a sexy brand of baseball, but the Milwaukee Brewers, I think it looks sexy to us because they beat the crap out of the Reds. But I think if you watch that team every day, it probably don't feel as wow, maybe not this year because they won so many games, but a lot of those other years where they were maybe like that 88, 89 win team, it didn't feel that way. And this team left a lot of games on the table. We've talked about it all year. They left a lot of games where there was not enough of the games that they stole versus the games that they gave away. So again, I don't think they're that far off, but I think that for me, I think the Reds could roll out of bed next year and win 87 games if just a couple things go right. But man, I'd really like to see them put the pedal to the floor and try to maybe win 92 games, or maybe even hell be the Milwaukee Brewers if everything goes right, and then have to make some real changes and some tough changes and some tough trades and some tough pieces. And maybe even ownership ponying up just a little bit to get that one player that fits that can help get this team over the top.
We'll find out here in the near future. As always, a friendly reminder here: you can text and/or call 988 day or night as anonymous hotline for a suicide and crisis lifeline. Please, please, please make sure that you check on your friends and your loved ones from time to time, and understand that 988 is always a resource that you can turn to day or night. Again, it's a 24/7 anonymous hotline. You can also visit mantherapy.org to get help. It's okay to not be okay. All right, we have some super chats, and they are big ones, and we are very, very appreciative of everybody that has supported us in this show. So let's get back to them. I know that we stopped with where are we at here? I want to make sure I don't miss anybody.
I think we're at Mike Dean.
Yeah, I see Mike Dean on the West Coast. On West Coast, Tito Sundowns before the first pitch. John Thompson says, thanks for the show, guys. I appreciate it. Go Reds. Thank you, John. Thank you, Mike, as well for the super. Clint said, Sal Stewart, I lost the team, the game. Can one of the vets talk like him of that mindset? Is that what he said? Yeah, I mean, I
what a freaking guy, man.
I like that. I'll be honest with you. Yeah. I like that.
Oh, yeah.
I really do appreciate that. I tell you what, I mean, sometimes some people will think that that's a negative trait to have if you're really, really critical of yourself sometimes. I don't know if it's always the best version to sit there and be that critical of yourself, but I'll tell you this. That guy got some big hits tonight. I mean, he got 2 hits. There's a lot of guys on this team that can say they haven't gotten 2 hits sometimes in a month. I got to give him credit, though. He came up in a big spot, and obviously he feels terrible about it. He knows it was a big spot, and the truth is that I like that kid. He's gonna be a fine player if he has that attitude. And like you said, Nick, he's got a reputation of working really, really hard, and I hope he continues to find success. And you know, it's easy to get sentimental and root for guys when you get a chance to see obviously the game, his MLB debut, and his parents and his dad, and the way that he was emotional, and the story behind all of that. And so good for Sal Stewart. So that was that's a crazy quote, to be honest with you. But thank you for the super.
I hope the Reds tell Sal Stewart, you're our first baseman next year. Spend all offseason working on it, because I think that could work his tail off, and I think he gets to spring training, and I don't think he's a great first baseman, right? Nice. But you let that guy work at first base, he'll be an above average defensive first baseman.
I agree. I completely agree. Let's see here. Michael Roth, once again, 50 bomb, just crazy, absolutely. Roth is in a league of his own. Nutcutter Nation there. He says the biggest question, and we'll use this to jump into the next topic here, and then we will finish with Sean Krutka's super chat as we wrap up the show. But Roth says, actually, let's do this. Let's do Sean Krutka's. Not to talk off season
might
again.
have 2 super chats. That one's not popping up unless you click on the red. FYI.
What? Rolf's got a 100 bomb super chat and it's not even
did
popping up?
Yeah.
Holy smokes. Yeah, I see it. Rolf, my gosh, brother. What can I say, Trace and Nick? Every end of the season feels like high school graduation movie. We don't get to see your shining faces every single day. Chatterbox Reds off-season schedule, ? Also, YouTube suggested multiple bear-related videos today foreshadowing Nick's hibernation. Yes, I'm forcing him to go into hibernation. He needs to take a break and relax and breathe and get a chance to take care of the home life for a bit. And nobody needs to – nope. Listen, I'm going to tell everybody this right now. No one needs to hear anything about the Reds, okay, until the World Series is at least over, okay? Now, Nick's going to probably get a hair up his tail and want to do something, and I'm going to tell him that he needs to realize that sometimes you take a chill pill. Nothing's going to – if something crazy happens, sure, we'll be here. We'll be back better than ever. But we need to take a break. Nick's been working his tail off. He needs to find a little more what we'll call balance here in the next few weeks. So he said the end of this week, I'm going to force him to take longer than that off unless he's going to absolutely hate my guts for it, which he shouldn't. But that's his decision, not mine. Let's keep moving here. Thank you, Raw, for that super chat. I'm going to read your next super chat. He said the biggest question for the Reds offseason is to figure out Blistergate. The Reds postseason baseball was awesome. Last night was fun. Tonight was fun. Thank you both. Let's break the tube and like the show. Chatterbox Sports Forever. Thank you, Roth. Thank you for everybody for still being in here. If you haven't already, like the stream, subscribe to the channel. That'd mean a lot to us. And we'll keep it moving. Shot Kruckus says, not to talk off season again, but it's hard to imagine them doing much spending with a lockout likely the next season. Yes, we'll get into that all off season. It'll be interesting because, I mean, ultimately that might help them maybe. I don't know how they're going to do that. It feels like they might prorate contracts possibly if there's a shortened season, so you might get off the hook for some bigger contracts. I don't know. Like you could take it both ways. You could say that, I don't know. Small markets too might also feel a little more brave because they feel like they're going to get some things that they never got before because clearly the commissioner, I think, is on their side. I feel like the commissioner believes that there is way too many inequities in the game, and it's making the game a little more difficult to grow. I'm not going to sit here and say they're going to go out and spend a ton of money, but you could argue it both ways. That's all I would say. Joshua says, big offseason coming up. Love you, brothers. Next year. Thank you, Joshua. Appreciate that. And Davis Rafferty says, well, boys, there's always next year. Appreciate you guys doing the show every night. I look forward to it night in and night out. Thank you, Davis. And, always next year as long as God willing. You never know. Hit by a bus tomorrow, and last thing I'd get to see is the Los Angeles Dodgers taking it to the woodshed of your Reds. But you know what? I hope for it, and I'm looking forward to next year as long as we can find a way to make our season better. And you know how it goes, Nick. You're tired at the end of the year, and give yourself a couple weeks, and January comes around, and you're like, yeah, let's find a way to do this again. So,
winter meetings come around, brother, and I'll be all in.
But nonetheless,
arbitration.
That's the end of those supers. So, folks are asking, obviously in the supers, they're already talking about the offseason. I guess if you want to share kind of a little bit of a gist of some offseason calendar stuff, and
this has kind of been a tradition. I think I've done this every year of the last show, so.
Why not?
Unfortunately, I did get this ready ahead of time just in case tonight was the end, and seems like probably was a good decision. All right, here's what's coming up in the off season for those at home, just because you may be wondering. A few more that didn't make the old list here, but here's what's coming. These are tentative dates because there's no official calendar yet, so I'm going off of last year, and I tried to figure out the closest. So free agency will begin. This will either be November 2nd through 6th. It's 5 days after the World Series ends. Contract option decisions, that'll fall between likely November 6th through the 9th. The deadline to make qualifying offers falls between November 6th through the 9th. The qualifying offer decision falls between November 18th through 20th. And the really interesting things, mostly for the Reds, will be the non-tender deadline. That will be where probably Santiago Espinal is no longer a Red. I'll look a little bit deeper when we do our first kind of preview of that as to everyone that would be on there. But that would be the kind of guy. Do you tender Santiago Espinal a contract? Players of that nature. Then the MLB winter meetings are December 8th through 10th. That's obviously where a lot of action happens. We did a lot of content then. That'll be fun. The draft lottery was part of that. The Rule 5 draft, part of that. It'd be nice to see the Reds pick up someone good. The Rule 5 draft, because they have just had a bunch of nobodies. Then in January, you have the arbitration filing deadline. That will be interesting. That's more in terms of trying to figure out contracts. A guy like Gavin Lux could be a guy that could be disputed where he thinks he's worth more than he is, just as an example. And then Reds Fest is January 16th through the 17th. They're doing it in January of this year. So we'll try to do something along the lines. I'm going to try to come down for that if I can. I don't know exactly if I'll have any official capacity for that, but I would love to be down there and love to maybe we could do something with Chatterbox. But stay tuned for all that. A lot more of that of the offseason. I will cool down here over the next month. I promise. I can't promise I'm not going to do nothing, because this is the one thing I actually like doing. I like doing it, making a lot more than making TikToks about the Bengals, to be honest. So can you find someone to make a TikTok of the Bengals and let me talk about the Reds, Trace? I kid. But no, seriously though,
Some truth
when we get into November and December, when we first started this, Trace, I thought, let's just do one video a week for Reds content in the offseason, just to kind of keep something on the channel. Like, literally, that was our conversation after 2023, was just to have the channel active. Well, like, there'd be a rumor that the Reds might be interested in Josh Naylor, and like 5,000 people would watch these stupid videos. So if you're going to keep watching the stupid videos, I'm going to keep making the stupid videos. So if you don't want them, you better stop watching. But no, I love doing this. I love talking about this. And the great thing is I have guys like Craig and Mike that can help me out. And the more guys like that can help me out, that we can jump on and bounce ideas off of each other, it's a lot less preparation time I have to do. And so we'll be able to get more content out. So stay tuned. We'll have content all offseason. I promise I won't go crazy over the next couple weeks, but we'll get there. We'll have a lot of content, hopefully. And I got a couple ideas too, but I got to make sure they all pan out before I say anything else.
Okay. All right. We'll find out. All right. I'm going to bring in one more person that's obviously been a large part of not just Chatterbox Reds, but Chatterbox Bengals as well. And, the reality is he's been behind the scenes for the past, I don't know, month and a half. It's felt like. I don't know when you signed up for this job, Craig, but we appreciate you doing it. It's been a tough stretch of baseball here of late. When they played meaningful games, you felt like you're half in, half out, but tonight's the final night. Craig, any overarching thoughts that you heard throughout the 2 hours that you're passionate enough about sharing now?
Man, I mean, like you guys, I'm kind of sad that it's over, but we had a lot of fun this year, and there are a lot of memories that the three of us made. Mike obviously being a part of it as well.
Definitely.
Corey and among others. I know the pregame show don't necessarily give the love as much as the postgame show, but they definitely put in a ton of work and effort to make it work, and we appreciate them for that. And then Andrew Collinsworth, who you guys don't see on Chatterbox Reds, but you'll see on Chatterbox Bengals a lot, doing a lot of the social media work, while Nick is able to focus on this for an hour or so after the game. Allows Nick to really just focus on the show. So I want to give Andrew a shout out as well. Look, tonight's game was similar to last night. Things got away from them in certain situations, and we're going to question decisions, we're going to question moves and all that stuff, and it is what it is. I guys know my internet's being wonky, so if you talked about it, I apologize for bringing it up again. They stuck with Nick Martinez for way too long. The fact that they went with him in that situation to begin with was a little weird. Chase Burns looked amazing yet again. So excited for him in 2026 and beyond. I know we had a super chat about that. And then, not to be negative, but the 6, 7, 8, 9 hole tonight, 0 for 12 with 8 strikeouts. Meanwhile, the 6, 7, 8, 9 spots for the Los Angeles Dodgers had 7 hits. We had more strikeouts than that. So tough night nonetheless, but appreciate you guys having me on for a couple minutes at least. I think if my timing is correct, I've got about 6 minutes until my internet kicks me off yet again. So nonetheless, here we are, and it's been fun, and I look forward to an off season of a lot of great content and overthinking every single rumor that hits the rumor mill. And I hope Nick has an opportunity to spend some time with his newborn, and I know I'm going to spend a couple extra days a week with my family, so looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, final thanks. I just want to say final thanks to our families in general. It's part of the show that you try not to get emotional about, but I got to be honest with you folks. I know that people think that this is just a baseball show. You get on here every single night, you talk about it, it's fun, but there's a lot of time. There's a lot of time that you just take away from your family on a night, every single night of the summer for the most part. And you're watching the game for 2.5 hours, and then you get on a show, you do an hour show, and then you know, by the time you get back, everybody's asleep. And it doesn't mean that I'm complaining. I hope people don't take it that way. It's more or less just my gratitude for all of the families that are involved for what we do, and I just want to say thank you to them, because they're the real backbone of this whole thing. If my wife were to look at me and say, "Hey, you can't do that show anymore," I as much as I love all of you and as much as I love this show, I got to be honest with you, I love my wife more. And I've never been put in that spot. Obviously, Andrea and obviously Craig, we've not been put in that spot where we've had an ultimatum, at least not yet. I say that jokingly, but you know, I just got to say thank you to them, because realistically speaking, they're the ones that make this whole thing go, because they do all the dirty work while we sit here and we talk baseball on a night in, night out basis. And yeah, it certainly doesn't probably look from the outside looking in like it's that hard of a job or it's that big of a commitment or any of those types of things. And I'm not here. Trust me, both of my grandparents worked in a factory and steel mill for 35, 40 years. And I'm not here to sit here and suggest that by all means that's it's the world's hardest work. But I do understand the sacrifice that our wives and families make every single night to allow us to do this. And you know, I just want to say thank you to all of them, and obviously thank you to you guys. But when you live this and you do it long enough, you know what the ins and outs of it are. And I don't know how many people totally understand the commitment levels that go into this to be able to try to do it at a high enough level where people can be proud about it. But I just want to make that the kind of final parting thought as we head into what will be the off season for the next 2026 year, is that thank you to our wives, thank you to our kids, and thank you to basically anyone else that loves us, that unfortunately doesn't maybe get the time that perhaps they would like out of us because we do this show. But one final time, thank you to all of you.
One more thing, Trace.
Go ahead, Craig.
450 people still watching this stupid show at 1:15 in the morning.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes
That's
without
insane.
saying, I think, but I'm going to say it anyway. We literally couldn't do it without you guys. If you're looking for more Cincinnati sports content, when we are taking this break, I'm going to pin a link to our Discord channel now in the YouTube chat. If you're not already in there, there not only are the three of us in there, but a ton of other passionate Cincinnati sports fans are in there as well, who would love to chat Cincinnati sports with you all off season long and throughout the rest of the Bengals season. So that's right. Look forward to chatting with you guys in there as well.
Yep. Just click that Discord link and you can get in there, and there's plenty of channels that you can find something that you're interested in, and you're basically in the chat 24/7, or whether you want to be in there or not. But really,
and tons of other content here on Chatterbox Sports. Off the bench, 10 a.m. to noon every day. Stone Shield Show, 11 a.m. Chatterbox Bengals, all kinds of content. FC Cincinnati, the Flying Lion, Chatterbox Bearcats. Those guys have really been ramping up, doing a lot of stuff. So lots of other content here. Chatterbox Sports does not go away. Chatterbox Sports never sleeps. We're always here. Appreciate the support. Echoing everything Trey said about my wife, who is just incredible to help me do the show, and Craig and Mike helped me help my wife as well. So it was a team effort. It takes a village. It takes a village, guys.
It does. It does take a village. Noah Downing on the way out the door. Thank you for being a member for 3 months. He says thank you for all service. Thank you, Noah, and thank you, everybody. If you haven't hit the like button, please do so on the way out. And subscribe to the channel because, as Nick just said, we never do sleep around here. It feels like from a Chatterbox Sports perspective, and you can get an opportunity to take in as much Cincinnati sports as you humanly would like. So until the next time, enjoy the playoffs. The Reds are not in it, but enjoy some more baseball, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Take care, everybody. It's been one hell of a ride. Some say it's great. Some say it's terrible. I'd say it's somewhere in the middle, and it's been a roller coaster. So see you, everybody. Take care.